Hey everyone, welcome back to the Infatuasian Podcast. Got a really special episode for you today. This time we are digging into our roots a little bit and we are going to rank our favorite Chinese dishes. Yeah, the granddaddy of all Asian cuisine, I think. And disclaimer, this isn't a list of the best Chinese food ever. This is more of a personal preference list. You know, Chinese food goes deep and wide, and so we're going to be sharing our favorite dishes at different tier levels. We have assembled a great crew of guests today, most of whom you have heard on this show before, but we have a special first-time guest who agreed to come on as our expert commentator and maybe even a referee if needed, so I think you'll enjoy what he adds to the show. This show was so much fun that we lost track of time and recorded for almost 2 hours, which is a lot from one episode. So I'm going to split this into two separate episodes. Today will be part one, and we'll have part two hopefully later this week, but we'll see how it goes. You know, I'm a teacher, so we have to give final exams next week, and we have the holidays coming up, so we'll see how much I get through. But in the meanwhile, I hope you enjoy part one of this episode featuring our favorite Chinese dishes. Hey, welcome back to the Infatuasian Podcast. We're back with another ranking show. This time, I think we're going deep. We're going into the archives. We're going to go with ranking Chinese food and Chinese American food, if you define it like that. So we're going to talk about Chinese food today. So I, of course, had to bring along some experts, and we have a star-studded cast today, guys. We have for you a real expert panel. We have people from all over the country. We are East Coast and West Coast today. And so we're going to talk about would you say, like, this is a biased crowd here, but would you say the greatest cuisine in the world?
Easily, for sure.
Easily.
Absolutely. It's not a contest.
because it's one of the oldest. It is one of the broadest. It influences so many other cuisines. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and say this. Come at us, people, if you disagree. We are talking about the greatest cuisine in the world today. We are talking about Chinese food. And so some of the experts I brought in today have different backgrounds. So let's start with Lingjie. Now, Lingjie and I have basically the same credentials. We're podcasters, we're Chinese, and we like food. Is that about covered?
That's pretty much it. Although you have like 20, 30 years older, but aside from that, we're pretty much the same person.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Lingjie is the host of the Worst Asian Podcast. You've heard him on here. He's talked about New York. He's talked about Cowboy Bebop. But he is here to talk about Chinese food today. Welcome, Lingjie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I feel very qualified. I like to eat. I'm Chinese. I have a mic.
Yeah. Actually, and you were actually born in China.
Yes, I was. I was born in Wenzhou, which is a province in Zhejiang. And then I moved over to France for a couple of years, and I've been in Flushing, Queen, which is the mecca of a lot of modern-day Chinese cuisine nowadays. So I feel semi-qualified just by osmosis of where I am.
You know, I looked up a list, and they break Chinese cuisine into the eight regions, and Zhejiang is one of the 8.
I'm going to trust you on that.
But what's the distinctives of Zhejiang food? Do you know?
Oh, personally, I wouldn't know. My parents don't really cook that traditional themselves. They cook a couple Wenzhou-specific dishes, but nothing that's like province-specific. So I'm not the expert on that region in particular.
Okay, we'll ask the professor in a minute.
Yes.
All right. And coming also on from the West Coast, right, Kat?
Yep, Seattle.
We're up in Seattle, Washington. We have the founder and what's your title over there? CEO, creator?
Well, it's a volunteer group. It's a hobby group. So I'd like to say like the founder and the admin of Subtle Asian Baking. We're not like a business or anything because we don't make any money. We like give everything away, basically. So we should be a nonprofit.
But what are we up to on subscribers, including Instagram and Facebook? Over a million, right?
No, nearly 500K, but not a million. Okay.
only 500,000.
Yeah,
It's been
come
a
on now.
while. You know,
That's pretty
Asians,
good.
we're never happy. We're never satisfied.
Yeah, always be working. And speaking of working, she is working. Well, you've finished your second book, but you are promoting it now. It's going to be available in April of 2024. She's a 2-time author now. Kat wrote Modern Asian Baking at Home, which is available everywhere. And coming out in April 2024 is her new book, Modern Asian Kitchen, which is all different kinds of cuisine, yeah?
Yeah, it's not all encompassing of like the 49 countries of Asia, but a lot of it is from like my third culture upbringing and Vietnamese food because I'm half Vietnamese, and a lot of Canton, Hong Kong, Korean food because my mom and my family loves Korean food, and a lot of Filipino foods as well. Some Indian here and there.
All right. And you can pre-order that now on Amazon?
Yes, please. I do donate a lot of proceeds back to the community, API charities, and so forth. So pre-orders are really important. You guys know that.
Yeah. All right, community, get behind this. So Modern Asian Kitchen, available on Amazon right now, will be delivered to you sometime in April. Wow.
April 2nd.
April 2nd. No joke. No April Fools. You didn't want to do the April Fools.
No, I told them, please don't do April Fools.
Okay, April 2. Available everywhere. All right. And then we have, rounding out our panel, we have another former guest. She is part of the first family of Chinese cooking. Her family's blog is called The Walks of Life, which is it's basically an encyclopedia of Chinese cooking with recipes, ingredients, stories, pictures, videos, travel. It's got everything on there. If you cook Chinese food and you don't know about Walks of Life, get over to Walks of Life right now. We have, welcome back to the show, we have Kaitlin. Hey, Kaitlin.
Hey, Curtis. Thanks so much for having me back.
Oh, thanks for coming back. What's new over at Walks of Life?
Well, a lot is new. We're doing our fall harvesting. We're finishing up. We're turning over the garden to grow more Chinese vegetables next year. That's one of our new adventures of the past year, is learning how to grow Chinese vegetables. So it's going well. And yeah, the mini farm is bumping. Things are happening.
Who's the main gardener between the four of you? Who's the main one out there?
It's definitely my dad. Early to bed, early to rise. He tracks the rain religiously.
How we looking, Bill? We looking pretty good out there? We got weeds growing. What's going on?
Looking pretty good. You know, my back is a little sore, so it must be good.
Okay. The sorer your back is, the better the farm is, yeah?
You got it.
All right. And if you don't know, we have a secret guest. He is coming in as our seafood today, as our dean of Chinese cooking, as our wok master. We have another member of the Long Clan. It is Bill himself, Uncle Bill. Thanks for joining us, Bill.
Thanks for having me. And, I'm humbled by that. That's a little bit... I'm flattered a little bit. I'm a little bit intimidated now.
No. Between us, you're just our Dai-Lo today. You're going to be our Dai-Lo today.
There you go. That I can...
Bill, you're born here, right? You're born in New York.
That's right. And I worked abroad for 3 years in Beijing, and that's when we toured all these places. And it was, I tell you, that was a great experience.
Yeah. No, for sure. No, I love watching you cook too. If you guys out there, if you've ever watched any of Walks of Life's videos, you've probably seen Bill's hands at least shaking a wok or stirring a wok or deep frying something. It's always fun, very relaxing too to watch you cook. I can just do it all afternoon.
Thank you.
All right. So here's the rules, guys. We're going to do a Chinese ranking show, and this is a little different than like a fantasy football draft. What we're going to do is place things in tiers. And so there's 5 different levels. The Japanese system, the highest one is called S. I forget the actual word for it, but in English it'd be like superior. And those are kind of iconic dishes. So these are the dishes that are kind of synonymous with Chinese cooking and iconic. And then we're going to work our way down A, B, C, and D. And we can do it in any order. Let's start with the S, but we can do it in any order. And so just to make it fun and to mix it up a little bit, we haven't really determined the order yet. And so we're going to take turns picking, and when it's your turn to pick, you can pick a dish and maybe throw out a description or a reason or maybe even a memory. And the rest of us can too. So if someone picks a dish that you had on your list, you can chime in and say, oh, I wanted to pick this because, and you give us the reason. And then, Bill, of course, you can give us recipes, you can give us tips for making it, you can give us your commentary, whatever you like at the end of each round. All right.
You got it. I'm a good critic.
That's
he
what
is.
says the youngest daughter of the family. All right, so let me go ahead and get the wheel out. We're going to spin this thing. Let me share my sound. You got to have the sound too, because the sound is pretty amazing. All right, so we're going to spin the wheel to see who picks first in the S tier. So this is the iconic food. This is the one that... this is a classic. This is the Mount Rushmore of Chinese food. Okay, so we're gonna go with the first pick. Goes to Okay, so we're gonna go with Lingjie with the first pick, and we're gonna.
Wow, there's actually clapping noise.
I know. I love this, Curtis.
Love it.
So official.
I know, right? And then the order that we're doing is going to be Lingjie. Let's see. Let me get this out here and show you guys. So that was the green one. So Lingjie's first. I'm going to be second. Kaitlin is third. And Kat, you're going fourth on this round. Okay. So Lingjie, bring us in with the first pick in the S tier.
So this is a personal favorite list, right? Because I don't want to go by what's historically most prominent or most popular, yada yada. Because I know by those standards, my entire list is kind of off.
Yeah, so don't come at us, everyone. This is not the definitive list of Chinese food. There's only 4 of us here, right? This is just what we like. So Lingjie, what would you put on your Mount Rushmore?
This is a bit of recency bias because I've been having a lot of this more recently because a nice place opened up nearby that's finally serving this. Shenjing bao, which translates to raw fried buns, I think. It's based out of Shanghai. For people that don't know what it is, just picture like a larger sized soup dumpling, xiaolongbao. So it's like a medium-sized bun, but it's pan-fried. It's not steamed per se. And the bottom gets super crispy. The top is soft, and the meat inside is super juicy. If it's done correctly, it has a very similar soup type of thing that's inside compared to soup dumplings. Maybe it's a hot take, but I actually think it's better than soup dumplings. It's definitely harder to find a place that makes it well.
For sure.
I feel like soup dumplings are much easier to find it, but shenjing bao is usually like it requires this giant, sometimes cast iron, giant thing, and there's several of them at a time. So I can see where logistically it's probably harder for a kitchen to actually have that thing.
Yeah, no, amazing. Now, is there a region where is that kind of Shanghai as well? Is that kind of a Shanghai thing?
It's from Shanghai.
Okay, yeah, no, love those. The texture on the bottom, the soup on the inside, a little bit fluffier than like a xiaolongbao, right? A little bit more.
Yeah, so the skin is more like a traditional bao, which you would think of like a steamed bun. But the bottom is super crispy. The top is super fluffy. If it's done correctly, should have some soup inside as well. The place that I go to now, it has more. It has more because proportionally it's bigger, but it has more soup than a regular xiaolongbao soup dumpling. And it's the type of thing where you really have to have it as soon as it comes out. Just like a soup dumpling, you have to have it as hot as possible. If you're not burning your tongue, you're probably having it a little bit too late.
You got to eat it in the car. If you get it to go, you got to eat them in the car on the way home. Yeah.
Oh, that's dangerous to have in the car.
There's a way to eat those sunjin baos without burning yourself, though. Yeah, you don't want to burn yourself. But
what's the secret technique?
Well, usually what I do is, I bite a little corner off, and I can see all that soup rolling around. And then you kind of start with slurping it a little bit, let it cool off. That's what I do.
Let the steam out. Yeah, you got to get that steam out.
That's it. And what Lingjie was saying earlier, the sunjian, it is the reason why they call it is raw, and they put it in this big cast iron pan, like he said, raw, and then they put water on it, and then they cover it, and then you sort of steam it, Whereas the soup dumplings purely steam.
Yeah, and if the bottom is not crackling when you bite into it, it's just not done right. That's a huge litmus. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, now this is the first decision we need you to make, Bill. Should we group other dumplings together? Because xiaolongbao is pretty similar. Or should we keep it separate for now? What do you guys think?
I think you should keep it together. I mean,
I think
group it as a dumpling because it's not really. I mean, bao should be separate, but sunjian bao is kind of like a hybrid between a dumpling and a
yeah.
bao. So I think it's okay.
I
Yeah, I
don't
think we'll
know,
group
Father.
I also disagree. I think it's a bao. It's bigger, right?
Yeah, I think
Bigger
I
than a
think
dumpling
so.
size.
I mean, a baozi versus like a dumpling, like a
Okay.
jiaozi, different. I think that's the line for me.
Okay. Well, no, I did say, though, in the instruction, I said Bill gets the final word on this.
I'm easy. I'm going with the crowd flow here. So,
yeah.
So if you want to be super, super strict, Kat was right. It's kind of like it has bao dough, like you were saying earlier. So it's more like the white bao dough instead of a dumpling wrapper, but it's fried like a dumpling versus like steamed where. So hey, I'm easy. If we got 2 out of the 2, I guess one of you guys got to be the tiebreaker.
Well, I think we'll just go. Well, I think we'll go with Kaitlin on this one because it's different enough. The ingredients might be very, very similar, but the texture and even the cooking method might be different enough. So we'll separate that out. So, but we'll see at the end if we want to just group all dumplings together. We may do that. But let's go ahead and keep that separate. The Sunjian Bao, thank you, Lingjie, for that pick. Smooth pick. I was going to go dumpling myself, but now I'm not. All right, with the second pick, I'm going to go with the classic. This one has to be on Mount Rushmore, I think. It is, I have a little history on this one, too. It was actually not invented in Beijing. But we are talking about Peking duck, Beijing duck. We are talking about Pingpingya. We are talking about the all-time banquet classic. If it's a banquet without this, is it really a banquet? Is it even a banquet if you don't have this there? So we are talking about the oven-cooked but fatty and juicy, skin cut off. Now, do we have a preference on the baos, the bread, or the tortilla kind of things, the pancake things? Do we have a preference on that?
I definitely prefer the pancakes. I don't think that there's any contest. So long, let's say, okay, if it's like a perfect specimen of each, right? I'm definitely going for pancake. And it's not to say that the little lotus buns are bad. I just prefer the little chewy experience of the little wrap.
You get more duck with the wrap.
You get more duck, and and it's not as filling across the rest of your meal to eat the wrap, because if you have like a couple of those lotus buns, you're full.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not going to disagree, but I do love the fluffy bun. I do love a fluffy bun. But yeah, so it actually invented in Hangzhou or near Shanghai, because that's where the duck patties were. The duck patties were kind of in the Suzhou area over there. And it's a type of duck called the Peking duck, Pekin duck, which is a white duck with the orange beak. And I don't know if this is true, but I read that Donald Duck was based on a Peking duck. So the character Donald Duck is that white duck that you see that they make this out of. And so it was made in Hangzhou in like the 13th century. And that's when Nanjing was the capital. And then when they moved in the Ming Dynasty, when they moved the capital to Beijing, they brought the duck with them. And then it became Peking duck or Beijing duck. So yeah. So any memories about Beijing duck or Peking duck?
Oh, I'll tell you, I have a lot of memories about that in Beijing. It's the first few times we went there. The beautiful thing about that is that the ovens are usually open where you could see them. And there's a guy with this long wooden stick, and he takes it. The ducks on hooks, and then he kind of puts it deep in the oven. And there's several of them hanging over there, and I don't know how they do it, but everyone looks perfect. They're beautiful.
What would you guess? 700 degrees, 800 degrees?
I'd probably, it could be. I think a little bit less than that, not like, but kind of like a pizza oven, yeah. And it's always wood fired, and they always use fruit wood.
Oh, okay. And they got to inflate it, right? They do like a little pump to get the air in between the skin and the fat. which gets it extra crispy. Is that
That's right. That's right. Now the difference there is between that and let's say the Cantonese roast duck is that the Cantonese roast duck has stuff and seasonings inside, where the Peking duck has no seasonings inside, and the there's openings actually left for the fat and to render. So that because what happens with the Cantonese duck is there's sauce in the middle, and then it kind of doesn't crisp up as much as the Peking duck.
Yeah. Still delicious, but not quite the same. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So I went with Peking duck, Lingjie with the Sanjiao bao, and now we go to Kaitlin.
Okay, so I was a little all over the place, and in typical younger daughter fashion, I'm not prepared. So
I'll edit the silence. Go ahead, take your time. Check your list.
I think that. So first, I was tempted to say dumplings, and I still do kind of think that, but like jiaozi, like pot sticker or whatever, people, that's the American name for it, but boiled or steamed or fried. But I don't know, it's a little bit of an obvious choice. And as I was thinking about it more, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go with a Cantonese steamed fish, a whole fish.
Okay, yeah.
Because I feel like it's really a pinnacle of cooking technique, Chinese cooking technique, which is steaming, and like perfectly on display for a fish, perfectly cooked, tender, delicious, really like preserves the flavor of the fresh fish. And then three key herbal ingredients, which are ginger, scallion, and cilantro, which is sort of like a holy trinity there of Chinese cooking, and soy sauce, which obviously is like the be all end all liquid that we live and die for. So I think that's got to be the one for me. And the added, like, it's not just a steamed fish. You're like heating oil and you're pouring it over the fish at the end, like kind of enlivening those herbs over the top. And that to me is like quintessentially why Chinese cooking is superior. Those like little touches that make the flavor really pop and
that do so much,
just go above and beyond. And, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know that that's what was going on, but it makes all the difference.
But just pure, and the freshness. It's got to be a live fish, right? You can't do this with a frozen fish,
right?
And it's got to be, and it's just pure flavor, like simple. My wife would say "ching," like really, really like clean, and then symbolism too, right? The head to tail, nothing to waste.
That's right.
The idea of completeness. Yeah, some people wonder why do you put the heads on stuff, but it's the symbolism of everything's complete and everything's whole. And you got the cheeks on there. You got the eyeballs. Some people like to put the eyeballs in their mouth. All the Asian dads out there like to put the eyeballs in their mouth and get that. And and then the bones
like
and everything.
The candy.
Yeah.
Eyeball.
No,
the guest of honor gets the head.
Yeah, right.
or first right of refusal, I should say. Right.
Yeah. My grandma always does the faux like, oh no, nobody else wants it. Okay.
And you're not supposed to flip the fish, right? Like that's bad luck to any sailors out there.
That's right.
So you're supposed to take the bone out from the top.
That's right.
Oh, we always flip the fish.
Uh-oh.
Really? Cat.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
My grandma flipped the fish. She didn't care.
Well, if you have sailors in your family, that's not good news.
That's right.
No, we don't have any sailors in our family.
No, I think you're okay then. I think you're okay.
So Curtis, one thing I gotta correct you on a little bit here is that I absolutely agree with what you said. Best thing, live fish. But what if you don't have a live fish? You're not gonna go without. You gotta go with like a fish that you buy at the local grocery store shop, right? And you gotta have it. It's similar. It's not gonna be as good as the live fish, but you still have it.
I concede. If you don't have any options, if you don't have a live fish option, you can go get a refrigerator fish, but it's 100% better if you go with the live one. If you've never, you got to get out to the coast, people. If you haven't had fish from Seattle, New York, San Francisco, Boston, you got to get out to the coast and get a fish that's swimming around. You point to it in the tank, and the guy catches it, and they cook it up for you right there. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like a fresh fish. All right, and that brings us to the fourth pick in this round is Lieu.
Well, I'm gonna go with either a rice dish or a noodle dish, and then I thought
Oh.
I've been making a lot of clay pot rices from Hong Kong
Uh-huh.
and Canton region, so I was like,
Yeah.
let's go with a clay pot rice because it actually
Uh-huh.
looks more complicated than it really is. So if you know how to make rice in a clay pot, you can make clay pot rice, and you could add any types of toppings on it. So I really like just adding, like not gombo kaiting, but like just a kind of kaiting onto it, like anything you stir fry. Top it, and then lots of scallions, a little bit of sesame oil, soy sauce, of course, a little bit of wine if you want to, and then a fried egg. 荷包蛋, 荷包蛋. It's just perfect, you know. And then at the end, you get the crispy rice. So it's a dish that the whole family can enjoy, right? If you like the fluffy rice on top, and then you like the flavorful rice, and then you have the crispiness like a chip that you can enjoy with either tea or some soup at the end. So clay pot rice for me.
That's the key. The crispy part on the bottom is the key.
I feel like the theme for the superior tier is mastery of technique. These are no slouch dishes, basically.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about like how popular and like widespread it is, but like the complexity.
Yeah, yeah. Though it's not necessarily complicated, but the flavors and the techniques need to be refined. Yeah.
Right.
And it's harder and harder to find bozai fan here. Like I know in Flushing, you would think there would be a lot of places. I can only think of maybe 2 off the top of my head that do it. There used to be a few more, but they've since closed down. Because I read you need to dedicate basically a whole slew of burners to it if you're going to serve it in mass. So you're talking about taking up a good chunk of the kitchen space. So like a lot of these places don't want to dedicate such real estate just for one dish. So it's actually harder and harder to find where I am.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it probably takes like 30 minutes to get your rice ready. So you're sitting there, but it's worth it.
They always tell you it's going to take like 15, 20 minutes. So when you place the order, like it's going to take 15, 20 minutes, just a heads up.
Yeah. You got to come to San Francisco, Lingjie. We got a couple out here.
Is it any good though?
I'll take care of you. We'll take care of you. All right. What do you think? Is this a foul or not? If you get the bojai fan out there and you're the first to get it, is it a foul to go straight to the bottom and start digging for the fondue at the bottom? Is that a foul or is that acceptable?
You're eating. You eat the way you want to eat.
You can dig down? Okay. All right.
I feel.
Am I the only one that when I get bozai fan, it's never to be shared? It's always like my own thing.
Oh, really?
Depends on how big it is. Like I make ones that are this big. You can't.
Oh, if it's that big, then it's to be shared. Yeah, but usually I just get it and it's like
there's a little
individual one. Yeah, exactly. So when I get it, it's my own thing. I usually drizzle the sauce like on the rim of it, so it goes down a little bit, so it's like crispy and cooked through a little bit more.
Stop being such a glutton.
I'm hungry.
All right, let me get the wheel out again. Good picks, everyone. We could add to it at the end. So if you have one that you think could have been on, like we may end up putting all dumplings on the top there. That might be something we do at the end. But let's go ahead and see what happens as we go down. Now, this round, we can pick any tier we want. We can jump all the way down to D, or we can go down straight one notch down to A. So it's up to you guys. So whoever gets the first pick here gets to decide what round we're doing. Okay, let me spin this. I've got it coming up to... Oh, it looks like we're going with the baby of our group. All right, Kaitlin, what level would you like to pick at?
I mean, D is... So A, we have plenty of runner-ups, I feel.
Okay.
D is kind of a funny category because it's like...
The leftovers.
Yeah. I'm gonna go, let's see, where do I think this dish stacks up? I'm gonna go, I think I'll go A, and you know what? I think I am gonna throw in jiaozi, like dumplings in, because I just think, I mean, it's essential. It's a gateway. Yeah. It is the gateway to Chinese food in a lot of ways. And there's just so many regional variations of different fillings. And different kinds of wrappers that you could have, like depending on sort of like the genre of dumpling that you're in, right? Like there's like
Yeah.
the xiaolongbao of the world, and then there's the dim sum dumplings of the world, and the sort of more traditional jiaozi, which is just like your standard dumpling. And I just think that the kaleidoscope of dumpling is undeniable. I mean, I was already sort of controversial bumping it down to A, so I gotta give give it what it's due.
It's like an A plus. Yeah, no, it's right there for sure. I mean, it's not necessarily a fancy food, right? Like it's something that you can just get on the street corner in a lot of cities. And it's not expensive. You can get them frozen. They're actually frozen. They're quite delicious, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
so it's not like super fancy.
Right. And I think, though, that the interesting thing about it is that it can be as luxurious or as unfancy as you want it to be. And I think that's what makes it extra exciting, because it can be a real flex for Chinese chefs if they want it to be. But it can also
20 pleats.
Yeah, but it can also be like the simplest, most basic, like grandma in the kitchen just pressing them together and boiling them 30 at a time and kind of heaping them up on a plate. So that's why I love them, and they just have their place on any occasion,
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally scalable too, right? It's like you got a quick lunch, you grab like 4 or 5 of them.
Yes.
You want to eat 30 of them, go ahead,
I think also a quick note worth mentioning is that it's a communal exercise often.
Yeah.
Which is really shouldn't be like underrated. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but shouldn't be overlooked. Because I think that's such an important part of Chinese cooking, not to get cheesy for a sec, but like thinking, it's a communal act. It's something that's shared, and it's such a shared history, and so many recipes and things and techniques are passed down. And that's part of why, cuisine that is thousands and thousands of years old is so amazing now. So I definitely like it for that reason. I mean, how else are you going to get the family gossip? You sit down in front of a thing of dumplings and stuff comes out.
Yeah. Or 3 or 4 generations sitting there. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You got grandma, mom, and kid doing it.
Totally.
I got a little dumpling history for y'all. About 1,800 years old are dumplings, and there's a story that goes along with it. And I'm actually doing an episode on stories, so I'm going to save this story for them. But it was almost 2,000 years ago that dumplings were first written about. So they might be older than that, but they're written about it almost 2,000 years ago. And now, of course, found all over the world, right? So you have jiaozi in the north, you have pot stickers or sumai in the south, or wonton in the south, and then you have gyoza or mandu in Japan and Korea. India, momos, right? You have momos in India. Eastern Europe, you know any Eastern Europe dumplings?
Pierogies.
Yeah. And Russia has pelmeni.
That's
very similar. And of course, Italy,
raviolis
and tortellinis. Yeah. So they like this food. It's like the perfect bite of food in a way, right? You could even put veggies in it. You can do fish. You can do pork. I think pork is kind of the standard, though, right? You get the fat and the juice in there. But yeah, you can fry them, steam them. You can boil them. They're just it's one of the more perfect foods in the world, I think.
Truly. For sure.
Yeah, you go vegan. Yeah, there's so many ways to do it. So yeah, not a problem with picking dumplings, though. I had them in the A. I had them in the S, but Lingjie scooped me, so that's okay. But we'll put them in the A. We'll put them in between A and S. But yeah, good, Kaitlin.
Curtis, Dongzi is coming up. Dongzi is the winter solstice. And it's called Dongzi. So what do people do? They eat dumplings.
You gotta make the dumplings. Yeah,
there you go. It's on the calendar.
It's always around December 20th, I think, right? Is around, so thereabouts. But it's basically the first day of winter, right? And in the north, everybody making dumplings, like Kaitlin said, whether at home or they go out to eat. And actually, in the south, a lot of people eat tangyan, which is glutinous rice balls.
Right.
So that's a kind of dumpling as well.
Yeah.
And, one piece of trivia that I thought was weird was that Shanghai is actually a southern city. So the Beijingers call Shanghai. I was like, oh, these Southerners. I'm like, oh, you mean like Canton? They're like, no, like Shanghai. I'm like, oh,
That's
really?
south of them. Yeah.
What do you know? Anyway,
Yeah.
thought I'd add that in there for you.
No, that's what you're here for, Bill. No, so yeah, so you guys got a favorite dumpling? So Lingjie had his already. Kat, you got a favorite dumpling?
Anything dim sum with shrimp.
Anything dim sum.
Mm.
Kaitlin, what are you going with?
You know, I gotta go with my mom's classique pork with chive or pork with shepherd's purse. It's the stuff that I was raised on. It's
Yeah.
not, I'm gonna say this, it's gonna be controversial. It's not quote unquote the best, but it is to me. You know what
To
I
you.
mean?
Yeah.
It's not like I don't know that in a taste test of 5,000 people it would win every time. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it just has the nostalgia. So that's my
No, absolutely. Yeah, I got a memory too. I'm gonna go with these pot stickers that you can get in Taiwan, and they're on the street, and they make them skinny. They're kind of skinny and very thin skinned, but super crispy on the bottom. And they have them in groups of 5, and so you just say, "Oh, give me 2 orders," and they give you 10. And I just went there with like 4 other guys, and we're kind of all in our 20s, and we got like 100 pot stickers. And the guy was like, okay, he didn't even blink. He were like, can we get 100 or, 20 orders? And he just gave us 100 pot stickers, and we just ate them there on the street. It's one of those core memories, you just you can't forget something like that.
That's
It's so good.
awesome.
So good. Bill, you got a favorite dumpling?
Nice. I go with the after being in I thought basically dumplings I was going to go with Kat, like any kind of dim sum dumpling, right?
Uh-huh.
After living abroad in China for a while, I'll tell you, it really opened my eyes, the northern dumplings. So I got like a good traditional pork and cabbage dumpling.
Uh-huh.
Is very
Boiled?
good. What's that?
Just a boiled?
No, I'll tell you what, Curtis. Back in my old days, I'd be like, oh, fried dumplings all day. I don't know if it's because I'm getting old or because I went to Beijing and everybody boils the dumplings, but I like the boiled dumplings now.
Okay. All right. You know what? It's never too late to change. You could always like fall in love with something all over again. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we're in the A round now. So everyone get out your A list. I think after we're going kind of ladies first on this one, we'll go Kaitlin, and then now we're going to go with Kat.
So I think kanji or joke
Oh,
is my A
wow.
class because it's so simple and it doesn't seem like an A class food, right? So in
Uh-huh.
America, people be like, "Oh, is that gruel? Is that oatmeal?" No, it's kanji. It's something very special, and what makes it special is how you make it at home. So
Mhm.
recently, I was a little sick, and I was like, "Mom, just make me some kanji."
Right.
She's like, "Okay," and all she took was like 1 cup of rice and 10 cups of water, and made like the best kanji ever, right? So I have to say kanji, and my favorite would be number 1 would be tang zaijiu. And then number 2 would be simple pork and century egg joke.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then with the joke, you also get the yao tiu. So
you
the
gotta
gruel.
have the yao too. Yeah.
So that's my A class because it's so versatile, it's easy to make, and yet it's so comforting.
Uh-huh.
There's a story behind it, and everyone makes their kanji a little different. You could have it more runny, or you could have it more smooth,
Uh-huh.
or thicker, and so forth. I like mine nice and smooth. So my mom was like, "Yeah, put some oil in the rice, blend it up with your immersion blender or like a regular blender, and you'd get the best joke ever." So I'm not too picky. As long as she makes it for me, I'm happy. Like anyone who cooks for me, I'm happy.
Yeah, it's got to be moms, right? No, I just got my COVID vaccine a couple weeks ago, and so I wasn't even sick, but I knew I would feel a little sick the next day, so I had to get some joke. I didn't even actually have a virus, but I was like, you know what? I got it. It's gonna make me feel better, so I had to get some joke.
It's like the Chinese chicken noodle soup equivalent.
Yes.
Whenever you don't feel good, when you're down, you just you need to have it. Same thing like my son when he's sick, I'll cook that for him. Same thing when my wife is sick. It's just like a simple thing that we're all used to, accustomed to eating when you're not feeling so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all across Asia has different iterations of their kanji. Like Korea has their kanji, or they call it JUK juk also. So, very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Kat, does your mom actually make the tanzai for you?
No, she has never made me tang jai juk, and we've only eaten it outside. She only makes peidan saoyok juk, or maybe sometimes fish, and then maybe sometimes like a meaty kind with meat, beef.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
But she's never made tangtaejuk before.
Oh,
We
I'm
should
with you
do it
though.
ourselves.
Tangdejo is so good, but it's a lot. It's a big hassle. So you most of the time you do eat it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the ingredient in that one?
It's a bunch of things. Like it comes with peanuts and squid and
Okay.
Peanuts,
Okay.
squid. It has some fish in it, and ginger. A lot of ginger.
A lot of ginger. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. All right. Good pick. So it's interesting. Yeah. I was thinking that the D level would be kind of more the homey picks, but we're kind of getting homey. We're getting sentimental in the A level. That's okay. That's all
but
right.
you said it has to be really special and personal.
There's no real
For
rules
you.
here. Yeah. You do what you want. You do what you want.
Just a very quick side story about kanji. So
Yeah.
my mom used to make kanji for me all the time, and that's like the only kanji I ever had growing up. So my idea of kanji was her style of kanji, which now that I grew older and I know how to like see all the other types, the kanji she made looked basically like rice pudding. That's how dense and thick the thing was. It was
Oh.
so thick and dense. So growing up for the first 15 years of my life, I always thought, oh, kanji is like, it's really this dense. You could, like a
Yeah.
Dairy Queen, you could just like flip it upside down and you hold it over your head. So like that was my concept of kanji growing up, just because that's how my mom made it.
Yeah, 3
really
cups
funny.
of water in there to 1 cup of rice.
Yeah. Do you like running your jukes now?
Yeah, so now I like it, standard density, but I grew up with it where it was just way, way too thick.
Oh, nothing wrong with that, man. It fills you up a little more. All right. Actually, since you're talking, Lingjie, we're going to go back to you with your A level pick.
It's funny enough, I was actually going to say kanji. I actually had that lined up as my
Oh,
next thing as well.
Okay.
Just
Consensus?
because it's comfort food. It's the food of the rich, the poor. No matter where you are, you're going to have kanji, right? It's not something that you grow out of. Okay, the next thing I have is Lieu, which translates to water boiled fish. Just by the name alone, you wouldn't think it's spicy, but it's spicy as hell because it's from Sichuan. So it's a whole fish, or nowadays when I go out and buy it, it's like fish fillets now. That's in this spicy broth full of Szechuan peppercorn, chili oils, garlic, lots of aromatics. But it's something that I've only learned to eat like the past 10 years or so since I first had it, but I absolutely love it. Whenever I go to any restaurant and they have it, I will always get it.
I don't think I've ever had that.
Have you had Lieu? So it's like the same thing, just with beef.
Oh, I don't get. Okay, full disclosure, I don't have a high spice tolerance, so I don't go to a lot of Sichuan restaurants. But yeah, so Bill or Kaitlin, you got any Sichuan takes on this dish?
I mean, that's a really good pick. You're kind of alternative there, Lingjie. I mean,
I was trying to pick the stuff that you guys wouldn't pick. 'Cause I have a very short list.
He only wanted to make 4 things. Yeah.
I mean, it's
That's a
delicious.
pretty classic one.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. That's definitely like Kings of Sichuan. Absolutely. It's a good one.
You guys can go full Sichuan flavor spice. You can go full numbing.
Well, as I get older, yeah, my body is rebelling against me, but I would like to, yes.
Yeah, my mouth can take it, but my bowel system cannot.
Yeah, exactly. There's a disconnect.
It hurts twice. Yeah. All right.
The sweet Lieu has a little bit of those, sprouts in them. They have soybean
bean
sprouts.
sprouts, yeah.
You can dig down below and get some soybean sprouts.
Get
You a
some
little
relief,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it has
Okay.
cabbage sometimes. Like when you finish up the actual fish, there's a vegetable in there. The ones I like have a little bit of cabbage in it, so you can use that with some white rice later on, and you get that same flavor.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
but
right.
lots of oil floating on top
Lots.
and peppercorns. And, I'll tell you, we had in China we had some meals with the sweet Lieu and also another variation called fei tang yu. It's also cooked in oil, and they give you a piece of white bread, and then
And the oil?
it soaks up the oil, and then yeah. It's-
Wonder Bread style white bread or like a youtiao?
Yeah, I've only seen that a couple of times, but because it's kind of wimpy, I think. But,
That's definitely one of those modern China inventions, recent invention, I think, for the young people.
So you're not eating the bread. You're just using it to soak up the oil.
That's right. You're not eating the bread, no.
Oh, I thought you were soaking it up so you can eat it.
No.
That's a waste of bread, no?
I was like, that's hardcore. All right.
Is it stale bread?
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I like the pick, Lingjie. You got to get all the regions in here. We got to get all the regions. So I'm gonna go. West Coast, Kat. I'm gonna go San Francisco for all you West Coasters out here. It is right now recreational season for Dungeness crab out here on the West Coast. And so that, if you don't know, it is one of the sweetest, meatiest crabs you can get. I mean, it's a little bit of work to get the meat out, but is compared to other crabs, is pretty meaty and just so sweet. If you get it in December, don't get it in the summer when you're on the West Coast. Well, unless you're in Alaska. But if you're out here, our season is roughly like December to May is when the freshest crabs come right off the ocean. And there's a restaurant here in San Francisco called RNG Lounge. I'm going to give a shout out to RNG Lounge on Kearney, and they do this thing called salt and pepper crab, where they bust the crab up into pieces, and then they batter the shell. Like, so the shell is actually battered. The meat is inside the shell, and you're battering the shell, and then you sprinkle on your salt and pepper, which we all know is really MSG and pepper. So you're seasoning up the batter, and you're frying this thing, and it is so good. So you get it, and you're kind of like, what do I do? Well, what you do is you eat the batter off of the shell, and then you get the meat out of it, and you kind of get this mouthful of this crispy deep fried batter with the crab meat, and they do it better than anyone else. There's other imitators out there, but you got to go to RNG Lounge. So I wanted to give a shout out to a local favorite out here. So it's called Salt and Pepper Crab over here at RNG Lounge. You guys, Kat knows all about Dungeness crab up in Seattle.
How did you know that?
Yeah, I know my West Coast a little bit. Yeah,
No, actually, I had a lot in New York City in the Chinese restaurants, and they make it with the salted egg yolk.
Okay.
So and they call it beifeng.
So good with the salted egg yolk. I'm sorry to cut you off. You put anything in salted egg yolk. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
I had this thing recently with the nangua cao xiandang one. So it's fried pumpkin. It's fried and then it's tossed in that salted egg yolk. So, oh my god, it makes everything better. I'm about to put like my my croissant in salted egg yolk or something. It's so good.
Do that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's why those chips are so popular, right? Those Irvins.
Yes, there's a funny, like, I would say 5-year lag, it seems like, on food trends coming from China to here.
Oh,
because we visited, well, maybe even longer, honestly. We were eating that pumpkin with salted egg yolk back in, I don't know, like 2014. And it was super popular back then, and only now in New York I feel like is it like hitting. But
now Flushing is becoming the international province of China. Seems.
That's right.
It is.
That's right.
It's been.
Yeah. I saw you. Yeah, you brought the family down to New York this weekend. Yeah, was that a family trip down to Manhattan?
Oh yeah, we were in Manhattan. We were running some errands. It was me and my mom did a quick little jaunt, had a little adventure. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, if you can get your hands on you got it now, Bill. I think you got to go live crab on this one. I think it's got to be in the tank.
For sure.
Yeah.
One of the best crabs I had was up in Oregon. I think it was around this time, and we were traveling in the RV. And we were just walking along the side, and a guy had $25 a crab in a big like garbage pail, a bucket, right? Take one of those. Best crab I ever had.
Yeah, it's got to be alive right before it hits the pot. Yeah. But there's different ways to do it, but I like this way that they do it at that restaurant. But yeah, scallion ginger crab, there's all these ways to do Dungeness crab, or just boil them and just eat it. You don't even need to be fancy. Put a little garlic and butter on it, and you're fine.
Curtis, here's a question for you. When you eat that salt and pepper crab, are you a shell eater or not?
Ooh, eat the actual shell?
Because sometimes the Dungeness crab, if they're kind of like sweet, very sweet tasting, the shell is and I'm not talking about the back shell, right? Or the leg shells. But inside, it's the more tender shell. And it's kind of the white. It's like kind of when you open up the crab and then you have a little bit of the thin shell. What they'll do is cut it into segments. Then they'll kind of like douse it with a little cornstarch and flavoring, and then deep fry it. And a lot of that shell turns out like little potato chips. Yeah, no, if it's thin like that, the inner body shells. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, if you fry those up. Yeah, you fry those up, I'll eat those. Yeah, for sure. Nice.
That and I'm just kind of lazy. I don't like to I don't peel my shrimp. I just eat them.
There you go.
You're a
Man,
soft shell
mine-
crab kind of guy.
Yeah, soft shell crab, or I'm just too lazy to pick the shells off the shrimp, so I'll just eat the whole thing. All right, I think we are done with 2 rounds.
Yeah.
I haven't been writing any of this down. So.
I have it written down, Curtis.
Okay, good. Because I think a day from now I won't remember any of this. Thank you, Kat. Thank you. Thank Kaitlin. Thank you, Kaitlin. All right, so are you ready for some trivia facts since we're in between rounds here a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, so we all know that China invented a lot of things, right? Like, I think, now there may be some debate on this, but I think most people agree pasta was invented in China. And this one may be a little debatable as well, but alcohol, I think fermented grains were first done in China. Which of the following was not invented in China or developed in China? Ice cream, sushi, wheat, kiwi, or ketchup?
What?
No ice cream, right?
What kind of list is that?
It's super random. So ice cream, sushi, wheat, kiwi.
Let me
or
Google that
ketchup.
real quick.
You can
No,
Google
Googling. No,
Kat.
Google it out.
Well, I think it's ice cream is not from China. That's
Okay.
my
Ice,
pick.
wait, say it again. I'm sorry.
I know ketchup
Ice
is.
cream.
Ice cream, sushi, wheat,
Okay.
kiwi, and ketchup.
I'm gonna
I bet
say
you it's all very technical.
I'm gonna say ketchup was not.
Ketchup.
Ketchup was not. Absolutely
Okay,
not.
yeah. All right,
I'm
Bill,
going to
what do you
say
think?
ice cream. Oh,
Okay,
sorry
two-
to jump
2
ahead.
for ice cream. Bill, what do you think?
I have no idea. But my instinct would be going for ice cream.
Okay.
I had read that ketchup was from China, so I know very definitively.
Yeah.
that
Really?
It's not ketchup.
Yeah. So
I heard it
ketchup
on a
was
Girls
that.
podcast.
Yeah. Our good friend Isabel.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that was a Hokkien fish sauce, and then they added tomatoes. When they got it to Europe, they added tomatoes to it. But
Okay. Okay.
so ketchup was sushi was actually invented in China and then brought to Japan.
Like kiwi, isn't it?
Huh?
It's kiwi.
No, kiwi actually was native to China and then brought to New Zealand. So kiwi also in China, which leaves us either ice cream or wheat, and the answer is wheat.
It's wheat.
Oh.
Ice cream.
Wheat.
I know wheat was in the Fertile Crescent, kind of the Etruscans and the.
I guess that makes sense.
So yeah,
They didn't do a lot of baking, like the Western type of baking. It's
Yeah.
all Western.
So yeah, like frozen cream. Even though much of China is lactose intolerant, in the north, in the
Right.
north, I think northwest, they were able to freeze some cream, probably some yak milk or something. They were able to freeze it and add a little. It wasn't sweet at the time. It was just like kind of a frozen cream thing. But yeah, technically invented in China. All right.
So
Got
what
you on that
happened
one.
was the wheat got introduced, and then the Chinese went crazy, and they invented soy sauce.
Yes.
And the noodles, yeah.
And the
Seriously.
noodles.
Yeah, no, that's how things work a lot of times. Is you don't have to invent it, you just have to be good at it. You have to perfect it. All right, you want to guess how many Chinese restaurants are in America? It's in the tens of thousands.
Huh. Interesting. Tens of thousands.
Like
We'll do
50,000?
prices right rules.
I'll say whoever's within, I don't know, 5,000. I'll give you credit for it.
I'm gonna say 88,000.
88, lucky 88,888. All right, Kat, what do you think? Throw a number out.
59,000.
59, Lingjie.
59,001.
Okay. And Bill.
I'm just an observer. I don't even know how many McDonald's or Subways there are. I don't know. 25,000?
How much?
25,000?
25.
Oh, that's too conservative, Daddy.
Well.
Okay.
Well, I got to do some math in my head here. Technically, I think. Well, okay. So wait, Kat and Lingjie are around 59,000. Okay, I'll just tell you the answer. You guys do the math. The answer is 45,000.
And
Oh.
what
So
did
that's
Bill
14.
say?
Price is Right rules. You guys are all over.
Yeah, they're over all that. Well, anyway, between the two of you, guys pretty close. But that's more than all the McDonald's, KFC's, Taco Bell's, and Pizza Hut and Wendy's combined. So
That's
45,
not surprising. There's like
Yeah.
so many fast food Chinese takeouts.
all
That is.
Chinese, yeah,
Okay.
and sit down and take out, yeah. So that's a lot. So Americans, we think of Chinese food as being quote unquote foreign, but it's probably more American than a lot of other cuisines if you think about how long it's been here,
That's
as well as
right.
how many iterations there are. So yeah, so don't call Chinese food foreign. It is American in a lot of ways too.
I mean, it's from when, the Chinese workers came to build the railroads, right?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
had to feed the workers. So then the food got assimilated.
Yeah, 170 years. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that's going to do it for part 1 of this Chinese food ranking show. We only got through 2 rounds, but don't worry, we got 3 more rounds to come, and we got lots more cooking tips from Kat, Kaitlin, and Bill. It's a lot of fun. I think you're going to enjoy it. So stick around for part 2. I think it's going to come out later this week. But until we talk to you again, we hope that you're all happy, healthy, and safe out there. We will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.